In the Boys universe, a place teeming with morally corrupt superheroes, 5-0 is a particularly dark character, someone on the lines of Bellatrix Lestrange and Joffrey Baratheon, but you'd love to hate 5-0 than any other fictional character ever. It's a shame he hasn't made his entry yet in the live-action show, but that's probably because he might just steal the limelight from Homelander. Yep, that's how terrible he is. A twisted take on Cyclops from the X-Men, he's an important member of the G-Men, a group that parodies Marvel's mutants. 5-0, known for his ability to shoot energy beams from his helmet, is a prime disciple of the G-Men's founder, John Godolkin. Don't even get me started on this guy. First appearing in issue number 24 of The Boys, created by Garth Ennis and Derek Robertson, 5-0 is the senior member of the G-Men. This group, however, is shrouded in disturbing truths. Faced with one disaster too many caused by these traumatized heroes, Vought decides to take drastic action. In a brutal and bloody sequence, every member of the G-Men is butchered, an act that inadvertently benefits Billy Butcher's team. In this video, we will explore 5-0 and his storyline that shows the dark underbelly of the superhero world in The Boys, and of course 5-0 and the G-Men are at the core of this subplot. So let's get started. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you, and let's begin. What makes 5-0 worse than Homelander? Before I get into the comics, let's quickly discuss why I and many others think that 5-0 is much worse than Homelander. Well, comparing the vile natures of Homelander and 5-0 is one of the most interesting things I've done all day today, or maybe a few days. You'll find out why. Homelander, for all his reprehensible deeds, is portrayed more like a power-drunk teenager. His actions, often impulsive and petulant, lack a grand scheme until he's manipulated by Black Noir into a political upheaval. But even then, he's a raging bull, only able to see a singular mission, with no regard to what's happening in the periphery. This framing doesn't make Homelander less dangerous, but it does paint him as a capricious bully, lacking depth in his malevolence, so you might even cut him some slack, right? But 5-0 is different. 5-0, on the other hand, represents a more calculated, deliberate form of evil. As a key player in the G-Men's dark, grim, and unfortunate saga, he doesn't just partake in their abusive system, he actively enforces and justifies it. It wouldn't be wrong to say that he enjoys it. His role includes silencing potential whistleblowers and upholding the team's toxic culture of racism, misogyny, and abuse. Unlike Homelander's impulsive acts, 5-0's methodical support of the G-Men's atrocities reflects a deeper, more conscious commitment to evil. Moreover, The Boys isn't just about shock value, it uses superpowers as metaphors for societal and especially monetary power. The story interweaves celebrity culture, religion, corporate greed, and crime into a single web of exploitation. So, John Godolkin comes up as a character similar to Jeffrey Epstein, a figure of immense wealth and influence who believes himself above conventional morality and law. John Godolkin, using his wealth and connections to Vought, has been sexually abusing young heroes for generations, a cycle of abuse that continues with new recruits. This appalling revelation comes to a head in issue number 29. This deeper thematic exploration is basically what differentiates 5-0 and the G-Men from Homelander and the Seven, making the former the true torchbearers of the brutal world of The Boys. The backdrop. In the comics, the character Silver Kincaid, a member of the G-Men, did not have a happy ending. Far from it, actually. After being coerced into killing a teammate, she partially breaks free from her mental conditioning and seeks help from the government official Suzanne Raynor. However, Raynor manipulates Kincaid, using her as an informant against the G-Men for 3 years. When Kincaid's fear of being discovered by John Godolkin escalates, she desperately seeks Raynor's help, only to be coldly rebuffed. Unable to cope with the fear of exposure, her residual loyalty to Godolkin and the trauma of prolonged sexual abuse, Kincaid ends her life using her powers in a public place in Cranbrook, the site of her original abduction. Kincaid's death prompts Raynor to involve Billy Butcher and his team in investigating the G-Men. They sent Huey Campbell undercover into the G-Wiz, a subgroup of the G-Men under the alias Bagpipe. Butcher looks into Raynor's sudden interest in the G-Men, while Mother's Milk investigates Kincaid's reasons for choosing Cranbrook for her suicide. Huey's time with the G-Wiz reveals a lack of moral guidance and rampant sexual depravity within the group, though he also notes a sense of camaraderie among them. At the G-Mansion, Huey encounters Godolkin and secretly places bugs to gather information. An encounter with the undead Nubia in the laboratories leads to a disturbing revelation about Godolkin's twisted desire to keep his so-called children around him. As the story progresses, Butcher learns about Raynor's role in manipulating Kincaid, and Mother's Milk uncovers details of Kincaid's life before joining the G-Men. Despite the group's dubious behavior, Huey grows empathetic towards G-Wiz and requests more time from Butcher to try and save them, to which Butcher agrees. 5-0. Later, things go much crazier and wilder. At the G-Mansion, Godolkin, the leader of the G-Men, hosts a brunch for the G-Men and G-Force members. During his speech about their status as outcasts, 5-0 openly mocks Godolkin, highlighting the disconnect between the leader and his team. This was very unusual because although the G-Men may have had suppressed hatred for their leader, they never really spoke about it. The brunch discussion turns serious when Critter raises concerns about the growing number of G-Men and the risk of security breaches or a member going rogue. Critter pleads with Godolkin to stop the practice of kidnapping children, but Godolkin dismisses the plea, revealing his inability to stop what he started. He's making it so much easier to hate him. The focus then shifts to 5-0, Cold Snap, Critter, and the Devine sharing drinks. Tension arises with the mention of G-Style's arrival, and 5-0 is annoyed when Cold Snap mentions Godolkin's instruction for them to maintain peace. Meanwhile, Critter shares that Vought has inquired about Bagpipe, Huey's undercover identity, as there are no records of him, which naturally raises concerns among the team. Butcher, realizing Huey's growing attachment to G-Wiz and the risk of his cover being blown, orders an end to the spying. However, Huey, believing G-Wiz can be saved, disobeys and returns to them. Simultaneously, 5-0 and Cold Snap discuss their failed peacekeeping efforts between G-Coast and G-Style, revealing the extreme measures taken to silence those who might expose the G-Men's secrets. 5-0's character is further explored in his conversation with Cold Snap. Cold Snap questions whether Silver Kincaid, who killed herself, took the easy way out and expressed sympathy for G-Wiz's struggle with Godolkin's abuse. 5-0 shuts down the conversation, justifying their lifestyle and the abuses they endured, showing a disturbing acceptance of the twisted reality they live in. The chapter concludes with James Stillwell rejecting Godolkin's request to resurrect Silver Kincaid, citing the ineffectiveness of the resurrection process. Stillwell also discovers Godolkin's defiance in forming another pre-Wiz team and learns about Huey's infiltration, realizing they penetrated the G-Man's ranks. 5-0's death. Silver Kincaid's funeral was anything but solemn. The G-Men, rather than mourning, openly mock and express disdain for their fallen comrade, ridiculing her statue and a flower arrangement made in her image. Godolkin delivers a speech that leaves the attendees cringing with its over-the-top drama and nonsensical content. His suggestion that Kincaid might be resurrected similar to Nubia horrifies those present. The event takes a further dive when King Helmet of G-Style claims to have been close to Kincaid, a fact contradicted by 5-0, who knows Kincaid actually despised him while alive. King Helmet uses his eulogy to throw insults at G-Coast, igniting yet another brawl between the rival teams at the funeral. Huey, meanwhile, discovers that members of the G-Wiz fear losing their friendships when separated into different teams. This further strengthens his resolve to help them, though his disobedience of orders is soon discovered by the other boys, prompting them to plan his extraction. The aftermath of the funeral brings more chaos. Stillwell informs Godolkin about Huey's real identity as a spy, but Godolkin, rather than opting for immediate elimination, decides to hold Huey for ransom. He coerces Stillwell into considering the resurrection of Kincaid as a bargaining chip for dealing with Huey. Outside the mansion, G-Wiz confronts Huey, revealing Godolkin's orders to kill him. Despite Huey's attempts to appeal to their better nature and their hidden resentment towards other teams, they make a move to execute him. Later, Stillwell arrives with a mercenary team called the Red River, who annihilated the G-Men using saws, RPGs, and flamethrowers. Of course, 5-0 perishes along with them. 5-0 and Cyclops. 5-0 is definitely a cold and abrasive member of the G-Men. With a demeanor and attire resembling a motorcycle rider, complete with a helmet, he exudes a certain detached cop-like air. His loyalty is tightly focused, primarily directed towards John Godolkin, the leader of the G-Men, and to a lesser extent his fellow G-Man Cold Snap. His character, much like his name hints, embodies traits similar to a police officer, and it draws some serious inspiration from RoboCop. Of course, 5-0's defining feature is his special helmet equipped with goggles that emit energy beams, a nod to Marvel's Cyclops from the X-Men. 5-0's view of other superheroes and ordinary people is generally dismissive and contemptuous. His motivations are driven more by financial gain than a pursuit of justice, which alienated him from traditional superhero archetypes and even those from the universe of which he is a part of. In his interactions and relationships, 5-0 shows a serious and sinister lack of warmth or empathy. His sentiments towards Silver Kincaid, particularly following her death, are harsh and derogatory. Additionally, 5-0's character is marred by overt racism, particularly in his interactions with the members of G-Coast and G-Style. Marvelous verdict. As we wrap up this exploration into the character of 5-0, we see a stark contrast to the typical superhero mold. In the twisted world of The Boys, where superheroes often mirror the darker aspects of society, 5-0 feels like the poster boy. While Homelander is the public face of superhero excess, 5-0 represents the sinister underbelly of this power structure. He's a key cog in the machine of abuse and control within the G-Men, a group that parodies the more noble X-Men. His character is riddled with misery and disdain for those around him. The Boys isn't just a critique of superhero culture, it's a deeper commentary on the dangers of unchecked power and the horrifying consequences of its abuse. While Homelander embodies the most visible and excessive use of his power, 5-0 illustrates how such power is sustained and perpetuated. He's an active, knowing participant in the story's evils, making him in many ways a more insidious presence than Homelander. So there you have it. 5-0, a twisted version of Cyclops, whose darkness surpasses even that of Homelander, serving as a chilling reminder of the perils of power left unchecked. Thanks for tuning in, and I would request you to stick around with us for more deep dives into complex characters like 5-0 on our next video. If you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks, everyone.